this is Rosemary Gruner from Hot Mess to Home Success, and I also run busybudgeter.com. So I want to take a few minutes just to talk to you guys about whether or not Hot Mess to Home Success is going to work for you, because I have to warn you that this is not for everybody, okay? So if you've heard about it, or if you've never heard about it, you just randomly wound up here, I wanted to talk about who this is for and who this is really not for, to help you figure out if you're wasting your money or if this is like the purchase that's going to change your life. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, Hot Mess to Home Success is a complete home management system, right? So rather than like, those cleaning schedules that you see on Pinterest or something like that, rather than these schedules that teach you how to do one little tiny aspect of your life, this is a home management system that teaches you how to do everything. The budgeting, the meal planning, the groceries, like everything, the cleaning schedule, every aspect of your life is wrapped up into this, and it teaches you how to do all of this stuff in 1 hour a day. Now, sounds too good to be true, right? Well, the reason why we can do that is because we do a lot of shortcuts. And when I say a lot of shortcuts, I mean a lot of shortcuts. So if you are the type of person that thinks the cleaning on the top of your fridge is important, that thinks that sweeping the back porch is important, this is not for you. I can promise you that. Also, if you are the type of person that is like, you want to have elaborate meals, like you want your side dishes to have asparagus with like a lemon sauce, maybe roasted, probably not for you. So what we're looking for are the people that we can help are super disorganized. They're overwhelmed. They've tried to get cleaning systems to be in place, to get laundry systems to be in place, and nothing has ever worked. So the way that we teach is amazing for those people. It's hugely beneficial because it teaches you step by step, but it also teaches you all of the automation, all of the shortcuts, and it's a kind of a plug and play system that lets you just get in there like, this is what you implement and it gets done. So the first thing we need to talk about is, who is this for, right? Who are the people that are going to see the biggest transformations on this? There's what we call identifiers. We have a list of identifiers. So if people identify with at least one of these, then this course will probably be a good fit for them. However, the more identifiers that you can relate to, the more likely it is that you're going to have a life-changing transformation with Hot Mess to Home Success, okay? So if you get one of them, I think that the course would be beneficial to you. It's probably not gonna like completely change your life, but it'll be like, oh, I solved that little problem. That's pretty awesome. It's up to you whether or not that little problem is worth the price of the course. If you are identifying with 2, 3, 4 of these different identifiers, then you are a very, very good candidate for this course. This course is likely going to change your life. So let's talk about the identifiers. First one is, I spend everything I make every month and I'm always broke. Second one is, my house is always trashed and messy. When I clean it up, it gets messy again within a few days. Third one, I'm always way behind on laundry and would need several loads just to catch up. Fourth one, I often eat out because the kitchen is messy and there are dirty dishes in the sink from a prior meal. When I want something, whether it's a brownie or a new planner, I find it extremely difficult to not eat it or buy it. I have very little savings, even though I make enough that I probably should have savings. When I try to meal plan, the food rots in the fridge and I go out to eat anyway. When I try to budget, I get everything set up, but then don't actually follow through. I'm often late and unprepared for things. The floor of my car is always covered in trash. My partner and I often fight about chores and the state of the house. My partner and I often fight about money and spending. And when I try to change, it never sticks and I end up going back to my old ways. So those are identifiers, right? If you are listening to those, to a bunch of them, and been like, wow, that sounds just like me, then yes, Hot Mess to Home Success is literally created to work with your specific personality, right? So this sort of personality is something that we call chronically disorganized. And it's somebody that has struggled with this stuff their whole life. They keep optimistically trying to change and it's just not working over and over and over again. So if this is something that's relating to you, then this course is literally created for you. Now, if you went through that list and not anything really defines you, like nothing really like was like, oh yeah, that's totally me, then this is just gonna be a waste of money. This is not a course that is created for you. You're gonna go through it and you're gonna be like, why are they creating all these shortcuts? Why don't they just do the real thing? That doesn't make any sense. But if you identify to those things, then you're gonna go through this and be like, that is the smartest thing I've ever heard of. Like, why doesn't everybody teach this in school? So just different personalities, different things. Okay, so let's see, we've got a couple of questions that came in. I got sheets, I'm all official. We've got a couple of questions that came in about the course. I wanna make sure that I get all of those answered. If I missed your question or if you have a question that I didn't answer, you can reply below. You can send me an email at rosemary@busybudgeter.com. I wanna make sure that we get this information out there. This is really important. The course is only gonna be open until at the latest January 8th. We are limiting enrollment. We have to limit enrollment for this first official course or this first official class. We've tested it, we've had beta testers, but this is the first time that we're opening it up to people, and we have like a Facebook group that I'm gonna be really personally involved in. We need to limit the first class because we wanna make sure that the people that are in this had the same results that the testers had, that I had, and we can only do that by limiting the class. If you do not make this class, it's gonna reopen next year. I'll give you a link below. The link below is either gonna go to register for the class, or if it's not live anymore, I'll put the link in there to sign up for the waiting list so you can be notified for next year. Okay, that being said, how is this different from the 90-day budget boot camps? Which, if you haven't followed me before, you have no idea what that is. So 90-day budget boot camp is just a workbook that we sell, and it talks about budgeting. The biggest differences between the course and the budget bootcamp are they're actually completely different things. So there isn't a lot of crossover. What is similar is the foundation things, the things that we teach, which is basically that when people suck at money, right? When they cannot get their budget straight, when they can't figure out how to budget, it's usually not actually a budgeting problem. It's a life skills problem, right? It's the dishes, it's the laundry, it's planning in the schedule book, and that if you can fix those 3 foundational things first, their budgeting is easy. So that's called foundation, and that is within the course. But there's a couple of things, there's actually a lot of things that are not covered in the 90-day budget bootcamp. So Homage to Home Success is kind of what you would call like a complete and total program, and the workbook, the 90-day budget bootcamp workbook, is more just like how to fix this one tiny issue of starting a budget, right? All right, so the biggest differences between the workbook and the course are the course teaches automation. So automation does 2 things, right? Of course, like when you start something like this, you're like, I don't have time to take a course. Like, lady, if I had time to take a course, I wouldn't need the course. So automation fixes this because like you don't have time to take the course because you're doing way too much stuff. So what we do is we basically take everything you're doing right now and we hack everything. We automate as much as we can for free. If you're in a situation where you actually make a pretty decent salary, you're just kind of not using it well, we might take a little tiny bit of that money to go into automation, but for the most part, we can automate everything for free. You can kind of get better automation if you can spend little tiny bits of money, but for the most part, you can automate for free. Once we automate everything, we reduce the amount of stuff you have to do every day by a lot, which gives you 2 things. 1, gives you time to take the class, and 2, it also gives you time just to breathe, because seriously, like it's insane that we don't have an hour a day to spend on just anything, on ourselves, or just relaxing. So the second thing it does is that it teaches you the simplified cleaning system, which is pretty freaking amazing. It's the only cleaning system that has ever worked for me. Like all those cute little cleaning systems on Pinterest were all garbage. I did them for like 4 days and then I never ever did them again. And so my house was just always disgusting. It was always messy, right? So once I realized that this is not working, like we need to go back to my personality, what's gonna work with my personality. And we basically tested and came up with this simplified cleaning system. And it's only doing the things that matter. We 80-20 everything. So we do the things that matter, but it's such a small amount that we're able to do it consistently. And when we're able to do it consistently, that's when our house is no longer trashed. We no longer fear people coming over. We stop fighting about the house. We stop fighting about who made the mess and who did the chores, because the house is generally pretty clean every day. Now, if you're someone that likes to clean on top of their fridge and you come to my house, you're gonna be like, there is dust on that TV. I do not like this. But as a general rule, like I used to live in complete chaos. There used to be like mounds of laundry and trash on every surface of my house. And if you come in now, like everything is neat, everything is organized. Like there's no trash or like laundry or anything like that on the floor. So it's all about kind of your perspective. And that's why it's so important to think about what kind of person you are before you take this course. Are you the type of person that's okay with shortcuts? Or are you the type of person that is like, nope, we have got to clean on top of that fridge, lady. So simplified cleaning system is pretty much amazing. It also teaches budget maintenance. So the workbook is all about just how to get a budget started. Budget maintenance teaches you how to get the budget started, but it also teaches you the long-term maintenance of that budget so you stick with it long term. It's also a one complete system that covers everything. So that means that this is not just about budgeting. It's not just about cleaning. It's not just about meal planning. It's not just about grocery shopping. It's literally everything that you do in your life that is not related to fun or free time. So we're talking as granular and as detailed as setting up an automated system to make sure that your family and you has new clothes every season for way less than you're spending right now. I mean, that's how detailed it is. Every single thing that you have to do in your life where you're like, oh, I have to do this to manage my home or my family is included in the system. And just to give you a little tip, like what that would look like is that every quarter we go in, it's actually not every quarter, it's twice a year, we go in and we basically order the next season's wardrobe and we pay about 50% of what everybody else pays. And it's brainless. It's brainless. But so that's kind of the whole idea behind the system is that rather than, now if you love to pop into little shops and look for clothing, that's fine. That counts as fun time. You do that on your own time. But as far as the things that you need to do to keep your home running, to keep your family running, this stuff is all in this plug and play system and it is not complicated. It's not overwhelming and everything is automated as much as possible so that it takes time off your plate. It takes things to do off your plate so that you have more time to do the stuff that you want to do. Okay, so it also teaches more detail than the workbook, obviously in the areas that are still covered. So foundation. Foundation is always going to be your dishes, your laundry, and your schedule book. So it goes into extreme detail with that. It also gives you, because it's in a course model, I'm able to actually show you my stuff. You know what I mean? Where I couldn't do that in a workbook. I could be like, here's the way, like my favorite part is the inspiration binder for how this basically how we make super easy like meal plans. I mean, brainless meal plans that take like 5 minutes. We use this inspiration binder. So I could tell you about the inspiration binder, but now I can just take you through it and show you what I'm talking about. And I can just give you the top recipes so that if you happen to have the same kind of interest in food that I do, then you could just plug and play and you don't need to go do all of that research and all of that work. It's just kind of done for you. Okay, so next question is how long do we have access to the course? The course is lifetime access and you also get all of our updates. And this is really like, we've been in this business and dealing with this personality for going on about 5 years now. And this is the singular focus of our entire company for the last 18 months and going forward for a pretty significant amount of time. So we plan for frequent updates at least yearly. And the cool thing about being in this first class is that you kind of get to shape what's included in the next update. So you could be like, oh man, it would be so cool if you had this. And I'd be like, let's do it, let's make it. So that's a huge benefit that, you know, future classes just aren't gonna get. All right, so let's see. So we've actually had this a lot, and we just talked about this, but people are saying, like, people are asking me questions like, well, listen, like, this sounds so great, but like, I don't have an hour to do this. Like, I don't have an hour a day to clean. Yeah, no one has an hour a day to clean. If that were the problem, you would not have time to take this class. So scratch off your minds. What we're doing is we're actually removing 5 to 6 hours a day of what you're already doing. So random things that are taking up your whole day, we're removing all of that stuff out, and then we're adding in this one compact 1 hour a day to do everything you need to run your home and your life. So that's really, really important to understand. I'm not trying to add an hour on top of everything else you've got going on. I'm taking a bunch away, and then we're compacting it all into 1 hour. I hope that makes sense. And at the end of the day, I need you to understand that the goal here is for you to actually have, and it can sound like a little bit ridiculous right now, but just bear with me, it's true. It's to give you 5 hours every single day to do whatever you want in life. Now, that's gonna include all of your free time. So like binge watching The Bachelor pad, that's my issue. Hanging out with your husband, hanging out with your spouse, like going to kids' soccer games, all of that stuff is within that 5 hours a day. But the idea is that you have 5 hours a day consistently to actually live your life, because dishes and laundry is not your life, and budgeting is not your life. The life happens in those free hours every single day. Okay, I get really like keyed up on that. We should not talk about that. Okay, so then the next question is pretty consistently across the board, we got this a lot too, is basically, I have tried and failed every single program out there. How in the world could this be different? And I get that because I felt the same way. So you have to understand, first of all, personalities. And I don't want to bore you and get into personalities a lot, but the people that triggered a response to those indicators, the people that were like, oh my gosh, that sounds just like me. Like I have a lot of problems with those things. Those people are chronically disorganized, right? And because they have low willpower, they have low follow through with programs. So they're the first ones to be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do the things, I'm gonna organize, I'm gonna get this new planner, I'm gonna buy $50 worth of planner accessories, and then it just doesn't get done. So these are the same people that are like, oh, I'm gonna get my house organized, and they sign up for challenges on Pinterest, and they download printable guides, and then nothing gets done. And so that personality has a hard time to stick with programs because all of those programs require willpower, right? So the thing you have to understand is that at the end of the day, if you fit in with these indicators and if you fit in with this personality we're talking to, you will always choose what you actually want to do in that moment, right? So like when you set up these plans, then you're like, man, I am so gonna get organized. But in that moment, after a long day, kids are screaming, crappy day, in that moment, you are always going to choose what you want, which is, for me, bachelor pad and bubble baths, whatever your vice is, instead of what you need to do. And any program that talks to you and factors in willpower, that you need to have willpower, is never going to work for you, okay? So what this does is it builds in a reward system. Well, there's 2 ways that it's different. There's actually a lot of ways that it's different. We're going to talk about them all. But the first one is that it works with your personality, right? You have to, the secret to making things work with your personality is incentivizing everything. Now, you read newspaper articles or magazine articles about that, and you're like, great, I'll just set up myself up in a reward. Like, I'll eat a burger every time I do whatever. So that's not gonna work. Your reward has to be so deeply ingrained in what you want that it almost seems like it's counterintuitive. So for a winning example is saving money. The best way to save money is to take a percentage of whatever you save and go blow it on whatever you want. Literally, it can't even make any sense. Like, I don't care if it's fake eyelashes or like the dumbest thing in the world that makes no sense, like Cheetos and Pepsi. The best way for you to save money is to incentivize it and make it so that you get what you want, which is those random like spending sprees, by doing what you need to do. And we do the same thing with free time, right? The best way for you to do your chores quickly and efficiently is to stop working. It's to stop doing stuff, right? To go through and just get everything you need to done in an hour or less. And then the rest of the day, you just blow however you want. You can watch Bachelor in Paradise with me. You can take bubble baths. You can go hang out with the kids. You can have date nights. You can build a business if you want to have more passive income. You can do all of these things. But the point is that if I give you all night to do chores and I tell you once you're done with these chores, we're going to have more chores, then of course you're not going to work faster or get done early, because what is your reward? It's more chores. So anyway, we talk about all of these things. We incentivize everything to work with your personality. The next thing is that we teach you the things in the order that you need to know them. So we never went to school for any of this stuff, right? Like, school did not teach us the basics of life. And that was kind of expected to have happened at home. And sometimes it did and sometimes it didn't. there's a knowledge gap here. So what happens, and we just were talking about this with like New Year's resolutions, right? Every year everybody's like, man, I'm gonna like work out, I'm gonna eat healthy, I'm gonna organize my house, I'm gonna save a bunch of money. And every year, by like the second week of January, everyone has literally failed. Like they've fallen off the wagon. It's like a ridiculously high percentage. And what they're missing, right, is that they're going after these complex routines instead of mastering the simple routines. When you master the simple routines, there's like a hierarchy of them, right? When you master the simple routines, it makes it so that you can more easily gain access to mastering the more complex routines. So I'll give you an example. So like a simple routine is something that doesn't really rely on anything else in order to get done. So laundry would be perfect, right? If my house is trash, I can still do laundry. If I didn't do the grocery shopping, I can still do laundry. With the exception of me wearing clothes, which is kind of a guarantee, I'm not a nudist, I can do laundry in almost any environment. Now, if you take something like meal planning or cooking at home, I cannot do that in any situation, right? I need to know how many people I'm gonna feed. I need to know what I'm making. I need to have the groceries in the house. I need to know what to buy. I need to find time to go buy them. I need to have enough money in my bank account to go get it. I need to have a relatively clean kitchen just so I can get in there and actually cook. Like I need to have a clean pot. I need to have dishes to serve it on. And with a complex routine, right, any of these things here could fail and your routine has failed. So it's really, really important that you get these like simple routines first, in which those are pretty easy to knock out. You just have to kind of get consistent on them, and you have to figure out the automation, right? What makes it super simple for you. Once we get that figured out for you, then all you have to do is start tackling the complex stuff. It's really, really important how you tackle this stuff. So don't say, I'm gonna save like, $50,000 this year. You need to start by saying, I'm going to tackle the dishes, the laundry, the schedule book this year. I'm gonna figure out automation so I have time to work on these more complex skills. So the other thing that we teach is that we teach that you only do the things that matter. So a lot of times there's all of this stuff that we think we have to do, right? We think, well, I have to do this and I have to do this. And there's this giant to-do list every single day. And in that giant to-do list of every single day is like a few things that actually matter. And then everything else is things that we think matter. We tend to weight things with pretty equal importance. So what we do is we cut all that out right from the start. We give you the system that says, these are the things that matter, only do these things. And I make you do it for a set amount of time. Because when you do those things for a set amount of time, without even trying, you're gonna feel like you're being lazy, but without even trying, what you're gonna see is your house turns around, your stress levels turn around, and you're going to be the most organized, cleanest you've ever been in your life, but you're gonna be doing nothing, right? So the idea is that we only do that stuff that matters. Now, if after that amount of time you look back and you're like, I really miss whatever that thing is, then sure, go ahead, add it into the system. But it's important for you to realize that all those things that you think matter don't actually matter. Okay, so then the next thing that is gonna make this different is the fact that, again, we talked about this, we're limiting your time doing stuff. You are not allowed to do chores for longer. You are not allowed to do any of this stuff for longer, because when you do that, you take away that reward system. We're limiting everything you do. Now, the last thing is obviously that this is a realistic program. So there is not grandiose transformations here. I'm not telling you, if you follow my system, your house is gonna be a Better Homes and Gardens. You're gonna lose 600 pounds in 2 weeks. Like, it's not anything like that, right? These are very realistic transformations. You're going to have a house that you feel like is generally pretty clean. When people come over, it is not going to be trashed. When you go to save money, you're actually going to be able to stick to it, right? Your savings is going to grow, not by $50,000 in a year, but it's going to grow way more, leaps and bounds than you have ever been able to do before. And you're gonna stop fighting about money, and you're gonna stop fighting about chores. Now, are you still occasionally gonna have a money fight or a chore fight? Absolutely. But the whole idea is that this is not like a perfect course. I'm not teaching you how to be the perfect homemaker. I'm actually kind of teaching you how to be a lazy homemaker, but that just happens to get good results. this is also taught by somebody who has, so I am totally chronically disorganized. I don't know if I already explained that. Maybe that's actually why I'm chronically disorganized, because I didn't even think to explain that. But I've been chronically disorganized my whole life, right? My whole entire life, from the point that I was like yay tall. I would have a bedroom that was just trashed with stuff, and it never ever went away. And when I got married, I basically married into a very large amount of debt. And I had a little bit of debt that I brought into this on my own. And I realized very quickly that we both had very similar problems, and that we were going to be in a ton of trouble if somebody didn't get better at this really quick. So that led us on to our kind of budgeting journey. And the key to the budgeting journey for me, because I had this chronically disorganized personality, was that I realized that if I could get organized, it made the budgeting so much easier. But maybe you understand this, it is really, really hard to get organized when you are chronically disorganized, because every time you start a system, you fail a system. And then you do that so often that you're like, I am literally a failure. I cannot do this ever. And so I got really, really good at testing kind of what worked for me, and testing in our personality, and then helping other people. And I was able to reduce our spending by over $23,000 a year. I was able to quit my job so that I can stay home with my kids. We paid off all of our debt, which was over $30,000. It was somewhere between $30,000 and $35,000. And then I actually found a way to make more money from home so that we can continue paying off our debt, because I actually quit before I paid off our debt. And I replaced my salary from home by running a home daycare for 4 kids. Then I started a blog to kind of teach other people with this certain type of unique, fun personality how to get the results that I got. And we've had about 10 million readers in the last 4 years. We've been able to transform the lives of 65,000 people. And it's like, this now gets to be my full-time job, which is like insane. It's insane. Anyway, that's like a whole different story for a whole nother day. But what I've learned in dealing with people with our personality is that when you do this, right, when you listen to other programs, they're like crusty old guys who are like, you should do this. And everybody is like, oh, that's so smart. But the problem is that those people aren't also doing their dishes and their laundry. They're not fighting with their spouse over all of this other stuff. And it's really, really hard to apply the information that they're giving you, because it's so unrealistic for the stress and the stuff that you're trying to do in your life. So as somebody that's worked a schedule, so when I was a state trooper and we were using the same system, this home management system, when I started it when I was a state trooper and I was working evening shift with like really, really unpredictable days off. So we'd have a day off and then it would get canceled and taken away. And so I would sometimes work 16 days in a row without a day off. Sometimes I would go into work and I'd get a mandatory overtime and I wouldn't get to come home for 16 hours. It really just kind of, it was not a schedule that anybody could have any sort of order in. And then I went from that to being a stay-at-home mom on maternity leave, and we still use the system, adapted right with us. And then when I was running the home daycare, I had 4 toddlers with me, and I was home all day working about 50 hours a week. The system adapted with me. And then when I was able to grow the blog and turn this into income, the system adapted with me. And so like in any situation, in any schedule, it kind of works with you, because again, it's the bare minimum, it rewards you, and it shows you that it's working as you go. So it's really, really hard to give up on, because you like the results. You get kind of addicted to the results and you're like, well, I don't want to go back to just doing crap for no good reason. So I feel like I talked forever. I hope that answered your questions. I know it was a lot of stuff to cover in a fairly short amount of time, but if you would like to get the course, I'm gonna put the link below. If you see this after we close, I'm so sorry. You can join the wait list, and I'm gonna let you know as soon as it opens back up, okay? But it's gonna close definitely on January 8th, 2019. There is limited enrollment, meaning that because it's a first class, we have to limit enrollment. So we may not make it to January 8th if we get full. But if the link is up there to register for the class, you're still able to register. If you have any questions, you can leave them as a comment below. You can email me at rosemary@busybudgeter.com. That's my little one in the door going, it's not working time. But I would really love to help you out. I really want to make sure that this is the right fit for you and it's a really, really good use of your hard-earned money. Okay, thanks. We'll see you later.